Chapter 1788. It's either windy or rainy. Mr. Chaos, if you come to Samron City, you will either blow wind or snow. Now I finally wait for you. Budagia came over with a smile to greet Jang, who got off the snowmobile. Jang was secretly alert. He had just tricked Barada, so he deliberately took a detour and arrived at Samron City much later than them. Of course, he had to be careful whether they found out that it was them. When he saw Budagia, he smiled and said, "This is the first time we come to Fremons. We also want to investigate the intelligence of the activities of the mechanical civilization." I couldn't help but turn around a little more. The two sides exchanged a few simple greetings. Budagia asked about what he had found on the way. Jang told the basic situation again. Except for stealing Barada's energy core, he told everything else. Budagia nodded. "We are the same. We have been investigating the activities of the mechanical civilization. Only by figuring out their purpose can we understand how to deal with them." Budagia used deal with instead of defeat. The words were very subtle, and Jang sensed a hint of unusual meaning. "Have you ever thought about destroying them?" Jang looked at Bodaka and asked half-jokingly. "Destroy?" Bodaka's smile became a little strange. He walked and looked into the distance. "Maybe we'll consider this issue after the support troops from various countries arrive." Jang nodded. "It seems that they are really strong." Bodaka suddenly said, "If we can study the core operating principles of those mechanical life forms, then it will be much easier to completely destroy them. I think you should know that they have an extremely difficult energy shield. It is very troublesome for aliens to face them." Jang nodded. "I have seen it. But doesn't Fremons have a powerful thermal weapon unit? That thing is still effective against those iron bumps." Bodaka's mouth twitched violently, as if Jang mentioned something bad. "What's wrong?" Bodaka sighed. "Don't mention it. It's freezing cold, and the combat effectiveness of the mechanized troops has dropped sharply. After the end of the world, the population of Fremons is not large. It's not worth exchanging flesh and blood for mechanical life forms. What's more, their weapons are more advanced than ours." When mentioning this, Jang asked a very curious question. "I remember that Fremons used the god of death of love, right? How was the effect?" Bodaga's face became even uglier. His military boots suddenly stopped in place. Zhang Yi and Deng Shintong and others knew from his face that it must be a very failed operation. "No effect." Zhang Yi frowned and asked. "No, the effect is very good, but it's also very bad." Bodaga looked at Zhang Yi and said in a deep voice, "It was because we used the god of death of love that directly led to the fall of Karen City and its surrounding areas." Bodaga explained, and Zhang Yi understood why the capital of Fremons fell. The trajectory of the mechanical army has always been to move in a way that ignores human rules. Their target is a certain existence hidden underground in Fremons. Just like when humans build houses, they don't care about the ant nests and insects underground. They just clean them up. However, if those insects dare to attack humans at this time, they will definitely be trampled to death. Zhang Yi's eyes became deep. Even the god of love and death has no effect on them. "It's not a question of no effect," Bodaka said in a deep voice, "but from beginning to end, they didn't take us seriously at all. I even think that if the mechanical civilization wants to destroy Fremons, or even the entire world, it won't be too difficult. It's just that they don't do it because of the existence of some indescribable rules." Zhang Yi thought of the Wulwan Empire in his mind. They also have powerful weapons that surpass the god of love and death in their hands, but they didn't use them when invading the surface. And they're also afraid of something. Zhang Yi and Bodaka walked forward side by side. He suddenly laughed and said, "Then what's the point of us coming here? If you are sure that you can't defeat the mechanical civilization at all." Bodaka suddenly frowned and said seriously, "But we have to give it a try. Even ants will fight back desperately when their homes are destroyed. If we do nothing, we will be doomed." Zhang Yi shrugged and said nothing. The full picture of mechanical civilization is still unknown, so there is no need to be so pessimistic. Then Bodaka changed his face. "Chaos, do you understand what I said?" Now is the critical moment for the survival of the entire human civilization. We should work together to find a way to deal with the invasion of mechanical civilization. Look, when the Wulwan Empire invaded Huashu Kingdom, we also spared no effort to help you. I don't ask you to fight to the death with the mechanical army. As long as you are willing to bring the energy core of the super-large mechanical life form in your hand and let us study it. Zhang sneered in his heart. After talking for so long, you are still thinking about my things? He looked at Bodaka with a smile and said in an extremely sincere tone, if we find any valuable information in the process of studying the energy core, we will definitely share it with Fremons. In terms of scientific and technological strength and military strength, Huashu country is far ahead of your country. So there is no need to question this. Just kidding, Zhang Yi has a world-class mechanic around him. Lu Karen is not only first-class in technology, but the key is that she has the ability bonus of divine machine control, which allows her to easily analyze various materials and mechanical structures. According to the current progress, it won't take long before the energy core will be thoroughly studied by her. Why do they need to ask Fremon's scientific research department to help them? Bodaka took a deep breath. That's not necessarily true. We are far ahead of you in obtaining the energy core and studying mechanical life forms. Zhang Yi just said lightly, this thing is not that the earlier it is carried out, the faster the progress will be. It depends on technology. Zhang Yi refused to listen, and Bodaka had no way to persuade him. But at this moment, he suddenly had a strange idea. So, he pretended to be nonchalant and talked about the loss of Bharata's energy core. Bharata's Indra thought so too. Guess what happened? The energy core in their hands was inexplicably lost. Bodaka said as he stared at Zhang Yi's face, as if he wanted to see some different expressions on his face. However, Zhang Yi had prepared himself mentally before he came, so he showed a surprised expression appropriately. What? Lost? He said with a smile. It's impossible. Indra is the strongest man in Bharata, and his team must be full of strong men. It's unimaginable to want to steal something from them. Bodaka continued. Indeed, I also think there is something strange about this matter. However, there is one thing I don't know whether I should tell you. Zhang Yi said nothing. You can say it or not. Seeing that Zhang Yi was not taking the bait, Bodhijia said to himself, but this matter is related to Lord Chaos. I think it's better to remind you. He looked at Zhang Yi. Emperor Shirtian suspects that this matter has something to do with you. Because when they encountered the mechanical army, you appeared nearby. Is that so? Lord Chaos. Zhang Yi sneered. Isn't this funny? The noise they made was so loud that our detectors could detect it from a long distance. I just went over to take a look out of curiosity. It would be ridiculous if all this could be blamed on me. Zhang Yi looked at Bodhijia with a disdainful expression on his face and said, don't put all the blame on us. Don't talk nonsense, without evidence. He suddenly snorted coldly, with a hint of anger on his face. I, Hundun, have always been open and above board in doing things, and I never bother to do such sneaky things. If it gets out, won't the whole world laugh at it? Bodaka originally thought that it was Indra who directed and acted it himself, and now seeing Zhang Yi unhappy, he quickly changed his words with a laugh. Don't think too much, sir. I'm just reminding you to be careful not to lose your things like them. Bodaka thought to himself, come to think of it, how could a strong man of chaos level do such a thing? At this time, Fatty Sue, who was following behind, was extremely grateful that he put on the tactical mask of his combat uniform because he was afraid of the cold. Otherwise, he would have laughed out loud on the spot. But even so, his shoulders were shaking violently. Uncle Yu gave him an elbow, motioning him to be quiet, so as not to be discovered. Ahem, Fremons is indeed colder than Tianhai City. I'm shivering with cold. Fatty Sue laughed. Seeing that Zhang Yi was unmoved, Bodaka felt unhappy. Considering that Zhang Yi had acted on his own in Fremons without consulting them before, the gloom in his eyes grew deeper. After Zhang Yi and his party arrived, Bodaka arranged a meal to entertain them. However, the entertainer was not Bodaka, who left first on the pretext of having something to do, and instead appointed a lower-level official. Jang, he only took a look at the food on the table, and he knew in his heart that Bodaga was expressing his dissatisfaction with them. Distinguished envoys from the Huashu Kingdom, welcome to Fremon's. The Fremon's official in charge of the reception raised a glass of vodka and said to Zhang Yi with a smile. Zhang Yi slammed the knife and fork in front of him on the table with a bang, and then stood up directly. I don't have much appetite today. You can eat this meal by yourselves. After saying that, Zhang Yi left the restaurant without paying attention to their helpless looks. Deng Shintong and the others were also very unhappy. The standard of their reception was very low, which was not in line with Zhang Yi's status at all. This was obviously done intentionally by Bodaka, with the purpose of giving Zhang Yi a head start. These guys are really arrogant. We came here to help, but they are so disrespectful to the guests. Zhou Cooker said indignantly. No, the situation has changed. Yang Xinxin spoke slowly. Zhou Cooker looked at her and frowned strangely. How should I put it? Doesn't Fremon's need our help now? Yang Xinxin explained. From the sky, there appeared. Since those strange things appeared, the situation in Fremon's has changed a lot. At present, although no one knows what the mechanical civilization wants, the crisis in Fremon's is not urgent. Especially when they found that those mechanical life forms are huge treasures, they think that we are no longer here to help. In a sense, we have become competitors competing with them for precious resources. Especially when my brother did not let them get any benefits after defeating the mechanical army. Yang Xinxin spread his hands. They sent invitations to countries and powerful organizations all over the world, and they will arrive one after another. So, at this time, they are not so dependent on our help. Even because there are too many competitors, they will take the lead in their home court. They are also sure to eat it. Even so, we are reluctant to leave. This time, Bodaga's attitude is to let us know this, and then make greater compromises with them later. Fatty Sue couldn't help but say, oh, doesn't that mean that we have to act according to their faces next? Zhang Yi walked in the front, narrowing his eyes slightly. Don't worry, there will be a day when they will be anxious. If the mechanical civilization really just borrowed a passage from Fremon's to find something underground, then it would be fine. Zhang Yi has gained benefits here, and it is okay to tolerate them for a while. After all, it is on someone else's territory. However, who can guarantee that the mechanical civilization will not have a fierce conflict with humans? No one knows what will happen in the future. He has a very strong feeling. The strength of the mechanical civilization is stronger than that of the Wulwan Empire. And it is not just a little bit stronger. Once a conflict breaks out, the entire Fremon's may really be doomed. By then, I don't know who will be anxious. So, what should we do next? Uncle Yu asked Zhang Yi about his next action plan. Zhang Yi smiled and snapped his fingers. Next, we do nothing. Do nothing? Uncle Yu didn't understand. Wouldn't that leave all the good things to others? Zhang Yi raised his head and glanced at the sky. There are too many things that are unclear now, and the traces of mechanical civilization activities seem to have decreased a lot due to the appearance of those polyhedrons in the sky. Since Fremon's is dissatisfied with us getting too many spoils in the war with the mechanical civilization, let them deal with the problem themselves first.